Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, oil prices falling in hopes of an agreement to open the Strait of Hormuz as President Donald Trump says gas prices could fall to $2.50 a gallon if tensions around the strait ease up. But the deal still not finalized. And in Gaza, a Hamas spokesperson makes clear they will not stop fighting over the longer term, saying resistance is their, quote, holy mission. We're going to bring you that story from Jerusalem. It's called aliyah. That is when Jewish people immigrate to Israel. Most are here in the United States, and there are growing interest among them to live in the Jewish state. We're going to bring you the story from the Holy Land. And it's a Christian program for students who take a gap year between high school and college. We're going to bring you a look at what they are learning and how Christianity plays a key role. All those stories and more right now on CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
It is Wednesday, the 5th of August, 2026. We want to begin this half hour in the Middle East, where once again, hopes for an agreement over the Strait of Hormuz are leading to lower oil prices and potentially lower prices at the pump if the deal works out. But in Gaza, Hamas is promising it will not give up its mission. CBN's Paul Petitte brings us the story. He's reporting from Jerusalem.
Tuesday night, President Trump told reporters he expects a deal to open the Strait of Hormuz by Wednesday or Thursday.
We're moving along very nicely. We'll find out. We'll know in 48 hours.
Earlier, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the sides are making headway in negotiations over the strait.
Suffice it to say there's been progress made in those talks, but not finality yet. We're hoping that will happen in very short.
Markets reacted immediately. U.S. crude fell 5%, while Brent crude dropped below $80 a barrel as traders looked ahead to a possible return of commercial shipping through the waterway. Iranian and Omani officials are working on a proposal to have ships entering the Persian Gulf follow a route along Iran's coast, while outbound traffic would use a channel near Oman. Axios reports that regional sources confirm the U.S. has been involved in the talks, with calls between U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff and the Iranian and Omani foreign ministers. The proposal is described as a 60-day temporary arrangement between Iran and Oman, which would be extended with no tolls or fees charged during that time. They would also work to clear mines from the strait over the next 30 days. This diplomacy comes as sources say U.S. forces have used nearly all of their long-range tactical missile systems and precision strike missiles, along with roughly half of their Patriot interceptors. U.S. Central Command has been able to replenish some supplies from military stockpiles elsewhere, but officials warn that any major new strikes on Iran could require a greater reliance on manned bombing missions. Meanwhile, in Gaza, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel didn't agree to the Board of Peace terms for disarming Hamas. In a video posted on Facebook, Netanyahu said Israel will not withdraw.
We will not retreat from our current lines until Hamas is completely disarmed.
As negotiations continue, a Hamas spokesperson is sending the message that the terror group will not stop fighting. Ghazi Hamad told British journalist Piers Morgan that resistance is the terror group's holy mission. Instead of answering Morgan's explicit question asking when Hamas would disarm and hand over its weapons, he said Hamas will continue to fight until we reach the end of this occupation and freedom for our people.
And Middle East correspondent Paul Petitte is joining us right now from Jerusalem. So, Paul, what else did Secretary of State Rubio and Treasury Secretary Bessent say about how their optimism is for a deal with Iran?
Good morning, Ephraim. Rubio said negotiations appear to be moving in the right direction and suggested an agreement could come very shortly here. Now, Bessent, he went even further, echoing what Trump said, that a breakthrough could come today or tomorrow. He described the talks as focused on guaranteeing freedom of navigation through the strait. Now, both men have indicated that the discussions are no longer just about shipping, but are opening the door to broader talks with Iran altogether. Now, the real test now is from whether Iran's private negotiation position matches its public rhetoric, which has been a back and forth situation from the very start of these negotiations.
Indeed. President Trump is speaking optimistically about a deal on the Strait of Hormuz, telling Fox News gas prices on average could drop to $2.50 a gallon. So where are we now with the battle over the control of the strait?
Yes, lower oil prices mean lower gas prices. That'd be good for everybody. But the Strait, well, is still the most important economic battlefield in the entire region because that is where a huge percentage of the world's oil moves through. Now, the U.S. position is this, essentially freedom of movement for commercial shipping. That means without any harassment, any fees from Iran. Now, Iran, they appear to be signaling that they'll be a little more flexible here, which was a big change from just a few weeks ago, which is another reason why the White House is so optimistic today. Now, even if a deal is signed, ship owners, insurance, energy companies, they'll probably want to see several weeks of stability before they fully trust the route again. And that's why the markets are watching actual ship traffic more than just political statements right now to create a more reasonable and perhaps accurate window into where these prices could move along the lines with these negotiations. Ephraim?
Let's talk for a moment about American ammunition stockpiles and the possibility of depleting. How serious of an issue are we talking here?
Yeah, I would call it a real concern, but not yet a crisis. Reports this week indicate the U.S. has used a large portion of some of its most advanced precision-guided munitions during the Iran campaign. So the bigger concern is not Iran, it's whether low stockpiles could limit U.S. options if perhaps a second major crisis emerged involving China, North Korea, or Russia, to name a few. Now, the Wall Street Journal reports that the White House has already been meeting with defense contractors about expanding production capacity. And in the midst of all this, for military planners have been warning for years now that America's defense industrial base was not built for multiple high-intensity conflicts happening all at the same time. So certainly something to keep an eye on here.
You talked about this in your story, but can you give us a little bit more about Gaza and the disarmament of Hamas? What current roadblocks are we looking at?
Yeah, it's a tough one, and for good reason. October 7th, right? You know, Hamas has indicated disarmament must happen alongside or after an Israeli withdrawal, while Israel, well, they want security guaranteed first. There's also the question of who enforces disarmament on the ground and what happens to thousands of Hamas fighters once they give up their weapons. Israel remains understandably concerned here that Hamas could attempt to rebrand politically while persevering with a hidden military structure. That's a big concern. And finally, there is the governance question here. So even if Hamas disarms altogether, there's still no full agreement on who will actually govern Gaza the day after. Will it be Hamas in disguise, or will it be the actual people? And that's a big question. Ephraim?
Before we let you go, what's the mood there in Israel? Does the public expect more fighting with Iran and eventually Hamas as well?
Yeah, from Israelis here certainly want to rid the Middle East of both entities altogether, but the question is at what cost? Now, similar to what you may see in the U.S., the positions could be drawn along generational lines here with an older group who may have been fighting these same entities since they recall as children, and of course the younger Israelis who also make up a large part of the IDF fighting forces who really don't want to see more bloodshed. But we also know Israel is a resilient country with very resilient people, so they are largely equipped to do whatever it may take. But I think most would agree that they enjoy seeing more Middle East countries joining Israel in their disdain for Iran, and that is certainly, perhaps you could call, some good that's coming out of this entire conflict here with Israel and in the Middle East. Ephraim?
All right, lots of moving parts to continue following. Our CBN News Middle East correspondent, Paul Petitte, we thank you so much for being with us here today. Coming up, she had a beautiful home in California, a great job, and tons of friends. Then came the Hamas attacks of October 7th, and this woman left everything behind to live in Israel. See why she and many other American Jews are making aliyah. When we come back, you're watching CBN NewsWatch.
Washington's words are powerful because they express an idea of a world that's different from the one everybody grew up in.
This ideal of religious freedom is going to be part of the government, but is it really meant for everyone? Is this going to be a place where you can be free to say what you want about God?
It's an American history story, and it's relevant for everybody.
When Jewish people immigrate to Israel, it's called making aliyah. 8 million people around the world are eligible to make that move. The majority of them are here in the United States, and there's a growing interest among them to live in the Jewish state. CBN's Julie Stahl brings us this story. She's reporting from Jerusalem.
Shortly after the war in Gaza began in 2023, California resident Leori Rush decided to immigrate to Israel.
I made aliyah because of October 7th. That was my wake-up call. All of a sudden, my Jewish soul, my neshama, woke up and said, you can't do that to us.
Rush, a cybersecurity executive, had a very happy life in the Golden State.
I did very well. I have a beautiful home in Silicon Valley. I had tons of friends. I practiced jiu-jitsu. We used to go to my Reform synagogue, and just, life was great.
She said things changed, however, in California after terrorists invaded Israel and war began.
I did notice after October 7th that there was a lot more showing of Muslim pride, maybe, where you'd see hijabs, like everybody was wearing hijabs. Then there were a couple of Palestinian protests in some of the shopping center areas. So I did notice more of that. And I also was accused of being a Jew.
That's not why she decided to leave, though.
I didn't feel like I was afraid, but I felt like I needed to support my people. People couldn't believe that I was going. The vision that they had was that I was moving to Gaza, I was moving to a war zone, which I knew I wasn't. I knew that it was in certain areas.
January 15th, 2024, Leori submitted her application to Nefesh B'Nefesh, which handles aliyah requests from North America. And months later, she and her 2 dogs, Herbert Samuel and Baby Rose, moved to Israel.
Shema, my little babies.
We've seen a quite dramatic increase in aliyah interest from North America since October 7th, October 8th, the start of this war.
Mark Rosenberg, a vice president at Nefesh B'Nefesh, tells CBN News that's resulted in a 40 to 45% jump in people applying, which has continued the last 2.5 years.
It's remarkable. I think it shows a lot to the spirit of people exploring aliyah, that it's not just a flash, it's not an emotional connection. I think the main motivator for people who are interested in aliyah really has to do with quality of life. They want to build their lives here, or they want to raise children here, or they want to open their professional careers here, or take it to the next level. There's a lot of commonality that they feel as if that Israel is this great project of the Jewish people.
Since it began in 2002, Nefesh B'Nefesh has helped more than 85,000 North American Jews navigate the immigration process to Israel, settle into their new home, and help them find jobs.
The biggest obstacle to aliyah, in my opinion, is fear of the unknown. I think any time people are going to move to a place, they want to make sure that they have a plan in place, whether it comes to schooling for their kids or just their general budget for what they're going to live off of. Another obstacle for people is family, is being far away from family. I think that the internet and these gadgets that we have that have made the world a lot closer for us have caused people to realize that you can stay connected even though you're living on the other side of the world.
Despite the war, Leori says she felt safe because her destiny is in God's hands.
So something could have happened to me in California. Maybe I didn't wake up one morning, right? So I had no fear of coming here at all, not even for the language.
She would like everyone to visit and encourages Jewish people who would like to make aliyah to take the plunge.
I think once you come here, you're home. I never really understood what welcome home meant until I came here. It's just an absolutely amazing place, and I think everybody should come and visit and live here if you want to. It will be an amazing experience.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Still ahead, we're going to bring you a look at a Christian education program for students who take a gap year between high school and college. We'll hear about what they're learning right after this. You've likely heard about students taking a gap year between high school and college. Some start jobs, others take the time to travel and take a break. For some, though, students are using these gap years for intentional growth. Jennifer Wishon takes us inside a Christian program helping students to find a firm foundation.
Here in the Appalachian Mountains of West Virginia, evangelist Steve Wingfield witnesses many miracles. It all started when a friend asked to show him this property.
And my response is, Jeff, I don't have money for property. I'm a preacher. He said, I just feel like the Lord wants you to see it.
And that led to opening Lodestar Mountain Inn.
I call it the miracle on the mountain, Jennifer. It's been unbelievable what God's done. We've been given 10 tractor-trailer loads of material.
It began as a retreat center for pastors, first responders, and veterans.
Tell me what this building was.
It was a sheep barn, and so it still is. It's a chapel, so the Good Shepherd's here.
Love that.
Lodestar began shepherding the next generation of evangelists 4 years ago by adding a gap year program, drawing students from across the country for 9 months of intensive discipleship. Students like Micah Derrick, who wanted to take a year to grow in his faith.
The community aspect is amazing, genuinely believers that are pursuing Christ in a very different way. And that's all they want. They just want to pursue Christ.
The program teaches students how to discover and develop their gifts, learn how to recognize every moment matters, and teaches them how to live out and defend their faith, all tools they'll use no matter which path in life they take.
Experts are brought in to teach subjects like leadership, evangelism, and apologetics. By graduation, they've earned 27 credit hours from Lancaster Bible College.
Every aspect of this program is so intentional with the ways that they just incorporate the Lord into it and just a purpose for every activity that we do.
It's a year that truly stands in the gap of some startling statistics that show 70% of Christians ages 18 to 23 fall away from their faith.
When I first went to college, one of the first things my professor said to me was, I'm going to teach you the fact of atheistic evolution. There is no God. One of the first things that he said. And I just feel like that happens so much where students are maybe not with their families for the first time in their lives. They're not with the youth groups they grew up through high school with. And their faith is really tested and really pushed.
We want to prepare them to share their faith, to defend their faith, so that not 70% are falling away.
In our program, we set the schedule. Students only have their phones on Saturdays, so we're encouraging them to live with their eyes up or their head up instead of buried in a phone screen. And so there's a little bit of shock that comes along with that.
Do you feel better without your phone?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Because it's just it just takes your time, and time is so important, and you don't know how much of it you have.
Kaylee, can we make this salsa anyway?
Like a number of students who've completed the gap year, Abby Beck doesn't believe she would be as close to God had she gone straight to college.
I know it feels like you need to figure out what your purpose in life is, but I feel like you can find your purpose in the Lord, and then the other things will fall in place.
As part of their education, students discover new places. This group just returned from Turkey, where they visited the 7 churches of Revelation. They've also spent time with the Navajo Nation in Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona, and ministered to drug addicts in Pennsylvania.
To take the intentional gap with intention to grow deeper in their faith, they're making the choice to not rush off to the next thing, but to actually slow down because they want to know Christ better.
High school senior Kara Burkholder plans to attend next year.
It is beautiful, and it just feels perfect and right.
Do you feel like the Holy Spirit kind of met you and just gave you peace about it?
For sure. Yeah, just walking around, even just feeling the breeze, it just felt right. There's a purpose to be on this mountain, and I want to be a part of it.
Studies show a gap year before college can help students develop stronger leadership skills, make better grades, and stay in school at higher rates. And for Christian students, leaders say having a firm foundation on day one is key.
The 18 to 20-year-old student, how do they stay in the faith through college? And the evidence is 2 things. They are in church on the first Sunday that they're at college, and they're being discipled.
It's one of the most exciting things I've ever done to be at this phase of my life, to invest in a new generation to do evangelism and discipleship, I couldn't be more honored.
Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, West Virginia.
We'll be right back with an encouraging word for your day. Stay with us. You're watching CBN NewsWatch.
Introducing a brand new way to start your morning. Get your daily quick start from CBN News. A quick read on the important news of the day delivered right to your inbox. Stay current on breaking news, politics, and entertainment. Discover how God is moving around the world and here at home. Plus, get exclusive stories and daily scripture encouragement just for you. Stay informed. Go to quickstart.news and subscribe today.
Hi, I'm Abigail Robertson, and this is Heaven Meets Earth.
There was something evil in the room.
Every week, experience extraordinary stories of divine intervention.
The tunnel and the angels are there for protection.
And discover stories of miracles.
I actually watched my own friend hold my lifeless body in his arms.
With over 4 million views.
You all are in for a treat.
Go to heavenmeetsearth.com today.
Time now for your Wednesday word, and today's word is behold. Remember this, you become what you behold, and that is why God is calling you to study his word and to see him. The more you behold him, the more you become like him. Think on him, meditate on him day and night, and watch your life look more like him, and you will reflect who he is to the rest of the world. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN News. Remember, you can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News channel. You can find them there at any time as well as online. The address is cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today or any day. You can email us newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Make this a wonderful Wednesday and come right back here tomorrow, same time. Goodbye. God bless. Thank you for watching.